We're about to take a deep dive into 7 life-changing habits that completely transformed my life in just 1 week. Yes, you read that right. 1 week. I know it might sound almost too good to be true, but I assure you, these aren't just generic self-improvement tips you've heard a million times. These are raw, real, and powerful habits that I personally integrated into my daily routine, and the results were nothing short of amazing. I didn't just read about these habits, I lived them. I went through the struggles, the breakthroughs, and ultimately, the incredible transformation that followed. And now I can't wait to share them with you, because I truly believe they have the potential to change your life too. Whether you're trying to boost productivity, improve mental clarity, enhance self-discipline, or just create a more positive daily routine, these habits are designed to help you get there faster than you ever thought possible. So grab a cup of coffee, find a quiet space, and get ready for something different. This isn't just another list of things you should do. These are practical, actionable steps that you can start implementing immediately. Plus, I'll be sharing personal stories and insights from my own journey, giving you an honest and unfiltered look at how these habits truly work in real life. Trust me, you'll want to stick around until the end, because these habits aren't just about quick fixes. They're about lasting change. So without further ado, let's dive right in and unlock the habits that can completely shift the course of your life. Habit 1. Waking up early. The first habit that completely transformed my life was waking up early. And let me be completely honest, I was never a morning person. My bed was my best friend, and I would hit the snooze button more times than I can count. Mornings always felt like a chaotic rush, leaving me feeling frazzled before the day had even begun. But one day, I decided to give waking up early a real shot. And let me tell you, it was a game changer. At first, I started by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. The first few days were brutal. I remember dragging myself out of bed, feeling groggy, and questioning whether this habit was really worth it. But instead of giving up, I pushed through. By the third day, something incredible happened. I started to appreciate the peace and stillness of the early morning hours. There's something almost magical about being awake before the rest of the world. The streets are quiet, there are no distractions, and for the first time, I felt like I had control over my time. With these extra morning hours, I found time for things I never seemed to fit into my schedule before. The benefits of waking up early: one more time for self-care. Instead of rushing through my morning, I eased into the day. I started with light exercise. Nothing crazy, just some stretching or a short jog around the neighborhood. This not only woke me up, but also energized me for the rest of the day. 2. Mindfulness and clarity. I also spent a few minutes meditating and setting my intentions for the day. These simple moments of mindfulness helped clear my mind, improve my focus, and set a positive tone for the day. 3. Less stress and more organization. One of the biggest benefits was that I no longer felt rushed. I had ample time to enjoy a healthy breakfast, sip my coffee slowly, and plan my day with intention. This eliminated stress, making my mornings feel more relaxed and purposeful. A life-changing moment. One personal experience that truly solidified this habit for me was the morning I watched the sunrise from my balcony. It was such a simple moment, yet profoundly beautiful. As the sky slowly changed colors and the world started waking up, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and peace. It was in that moment that I truly understood the power of waking up early. How you can start waking up early. Now I know that waking up early isn't for everyone, but I encourage you to try it for just a week. You don't have to suddenly start waking up at 5 a.m. Instead, begin by waking up just 15 minutes earlier than usual and gradually increase it. It's not just about having more time in your day, it's about using those extra hours to start your day with intention, mindfulness, and energy. You might be surprised at how much of a difference it makes. Habit 2. Habit number 2. Daily exercise. A life-changing routine. Daily exercise. Speaking of energy, the habit that changed my life was daily exercise. Let me be upfront. I wasn't always the most active person. In fact, I was the master of excuses when it came to working out. I'd tell myself, I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? I knew deep down that I needed to make a change. but I kept postponing it. One day I finally had enough. I made a simple but powerful commitment: move my body every single day for a week. No pressure, no extreme workouts, just 20 minutes of movement every day. I figured if I could commit to that, maybe I could finally build a lasting habit. Starting small and pushing through. At first, I kept it simple. Some days I did yoga, other days I went for a jog, and occasionally I mixed in some strength training. I wanted to keep things interesting so I wouldn't get bored and quit halfway through. The first few days were tough. My muscles were sore, I felt exhausted, and my motivation was low. But I reminded myself why I was doing this. Not just to look better, but to feel better, both physically and mentally. Then by the fourth day, something amazing happened. The transformation begins. I woke up feeling energized. My mood had drastically improved. I was less irritable, more positive, and mentally sharper. I realized that these 20 minutes of movement weren't just about burning calories or building muscle. They were about giving myself time to focus on me, releasing stress and clearing my mind, boosting endorphins, those feel-good hormones that naturally lift your mood. I'll never forget one morning when I laced up my sneakers and went for a jog. It was a crisp, clear day, and as I ran, I felt a sense of freedom and clarity that I hadn't experienced in a long time. It was just me, the open road, and my thoughts. That moment of connection to myself and the world around me was truly empowering. More than just physical benefits over time, I started noticing physical changes too. My posture improved. I stood taller and felt stronger. My overall fitness increased. I had more endurance and felt less sluggish. My energy levels were higher. I was no longer dependent on coffee to wake me up. But the biggest change wasn't physical, it was mental. Exercise became my escape, a time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. It stopped feeling like a chore and became a form of self-care. One personal highlight was trying yoga for the first time. I hesitated at first, thinking, I'm not flexible enough, or this isn't a real workout. But after a few sessions, I fell in love with it. Yoga taught me to be present, breathe deeply, and listen to my body. It became more than just a physical practice. It was a mental reset, a moment of peace in my otherwise busy day. How to get started. If you're struggling to start an exercise routine, my advice is simple. Start small, just 10 to 15 minutes a day. Find an activity you enjoy, whether it's dancing, hiking, swimming, or even just a brisk walk. Make it a habit. Consistency matters more than intensity. Trust me, the benefits you'll experience will be well worth the effort. This habit has the power to change not just your body, but your entire outlook on life. Habit 3, journaling, the power of reflection. Speaking of mental clarity, the next habit that changed my life was journaling. Habit number 3, journaling. I used to think journaling was just for people who had loads of free time or were naturally introspective. I was skeptical. I mean, who has time to sit down and write about their day when there's so much going on? My mind was always occupied with work, social life, and the never-ending list of things I had to do. But one week of consistent journaling completely shifted my perspective. What started as a simple experiment quickly became a cornerstone of my personal growth journey. Getting started, keeping it simple. I started small. Every night before bed, I dedicated just 10 minutes to journaling. No pressure, no overthinking. I just picked up a plain notebook and a comfortable pen and let my thoughts flow. I avoided using fancy apps or trying to make it aesthetically pleasing. This wasn't about perfection. It was about honesty. The first night I stared at the blank page, unsure of what to write. I had expected words to pour out effortlessly, but instead my mind was completely blank. Eventually I started with something basic: how my day went, what made me happy, and what I struggled with. It felt a little awkward at first, but as the days went by, I found myself diving deeper. I began writing about my goals, fears, dreams, and insecurities. It felt like I was having a conversation with myself, and that's when the magic happened. The power of self-reflection. As I continued, I started to notice patterns in my thoughts and behaviors. Some of the things I constantly worried about were completely out of my control, while others were areas where I could take actionable steps. One night, I remember writing about a particularly stressful day at work. By putting my thoughts on paper, I was able to process my emotions better. I wrote about what specifically stressed me out, how it made me feel, and what I could do differently next time. This simple act of reflection helped me gain clarity and feel more in control of my emotions. I also realized that many of my stressors were temporary and not as overwhelming as they seemed in my mind. Seeing them written down took away their power, making them feel more manageable. Tracking progress and growth. Another unexpected benefit of journaling was being able to track my progress. I started noting down small victories and milestones, no matter how minor they seemed. For example, I wrote about a presentation I was nervous about and how I prepared for it. Seeing my preparation process and the positive outcome documented in my journal was incredibly encouraging. It reminded me that I was capable and that I could overcome challenges if I put in the effort. Looking back at old entries, I could see just how far I had come. Moments of self-doubt turned into moments of growth. Practicing gratitude. One of the most impactful additions to my journaling practice was creating a gratitude section. Every day, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for. Some days it was something big, like a promotion or a meaningful conversation with a loved one. Other days it was something small, like the warmth of my morning coffee or the way the sun felt on my skin during a walk. This practice shifted my mindset from focusing on what I lacked to appreciating what I already had. It helped me recognize that happiness isn't found in the future, it's found in the present. One particularly memorable entry was about a random act of kindness. A stranger helped me when I was struggling with my grocery bags. Writing about this not only made me feel grateful, but it also inspired me to pay it forward. Journaling as therapy. Through journaling, I discovered a lot about myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths, and my weaknesses. It became a form of therapy, a way to untangle the complex web of thoughts and emotions that we all carry around. It provided a safe space where I could be completely honest with myself without fear of judgment. Some days my journal was a place to vent. Other days it was a place to dream. But no matter what, it always gave me a sense of relief and clarity. How you can start journaling. If you've never tried journaling, I highly encourage you to start. You don't need a perfect system or profound thoughts, just write whatever comes to mind. Here are some simple prompts to get started. Check mark. What went well today? What challenges did I face? And how did I handle them? What am I grateful for today? What are my biggest goals and what small steps can I take toward them? Give yourself the freedom to express whatever you're feeling. You might be surprised at how much clarity and peace it brings into your life. Remember, it's not about what you write, it's about the process of writing itself. Final thoughts. What started as a 10-minute habit turned into one of the most powerful tools for self-improvement in my life. Journaling helped me understand myself, manage stress, and appreciate the small joys of daily life. It's a habit I plan to keep forever. Up next, Habit 4, Mindful Eating. If journaling helped me gain control over my mind, mindful eating helped me gain control over my body and relationship with food. Mindful eating was a transformative habit for me, and it started as an experiment. Like many people, I had developed the habit of eating on the go, barely paying attention to what or how much I was consuming. My meals were often rushed and distracted, eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop. It felt efficient at the time. After all, why waste time just sitting and eating when I could be multitasking? But what I didn't realize was how this habit was negatively affecting my well-being, my relationship with food, and even my digestion. When I decided to give mindful eating a try for 1 week, I had no idea how profound the impact would be. Mindful eating is all about being fully present while eating, paying close attention to the experience of consuming food both inside and outside the body. It's about savoring each bite, noticing the flavors, textures, aromas, and even the sounds of food as you chew. It also involves tuning in to the body's hunger and fullness cues rather than eating mindlessly out of habit or emotion. I had heard about the benefits of mindful eating before, but I never seriously considered it until I decided to commit to trying it for every meal for one full week. The first step in my experiment was setting the scene for my meals. I made a conscious effort to clear my dining table, set a proper place for myself, and remove any distractions. No phone, no TV, no laptop, just me and my meal. At first, it felt a little strange to sit in silence with my food. I was so used to eating with some form of entertainment that simply focusing on my meal felt unnatural. But as the days passed, I started to appreciate the quiet, and it became a calming ritual rather than an awkward experience. Before each meal, I took a few deep breaths to center myself and bring my attention to the present moment. One of the first things I noticed was how much more I enjoyed my food. I took the time to really taste and appreciate each bite, and suddenly, foods I had eaten hundreds of times before felt new and exciting. The crunch of fresh vegetables was more satisfying, the sweetness of ripe fruit was more pronounced, and the warmth of a home-cooked meal felt more nourishing than ever. It was like experiencing food in high definition, with every bite carrying more depth and satisfaction than it had before. Beyond the enhanced enjoyment of food, I also realized how much more satisfied I felt after eating. By slowing down and paying attention, I gave my body the time it needed to signal when it was full. This was a major shift for me, as I used to eat quickly and often overeat because my body hadn't had time to register fullness. By listening to my hunger and fullness cues, I naturally ate less without even trying, and I felt more in control of my eating habits. One memorable moment was with a simple bowl of oatmeal. Normally, I would have eaten it quickly, barely noticing the texture or taste. But this time, I took it slow, savoring the creamy consistency and the subtle sweetness of the honey I drizzled on top. That small moment of gratitude and mindfulness set a positive tone for the rest of my day. As I continued practicing mindful eating, I began to notice how different foods made me feel. Heavy processed foods left me feeling sluggish and bloated, while fresh, whole foods gave me energy and made me feel light. This awareness led me to make healthier choices naturally, without feeling deprived or restricted. It was no longer about forcing myself to eat healthy. Instead, I genuinely wanted to eat foods that made me feel good. Another powerful aspect of mindful eating was recognizing the emotional connections I had with food. I started to become more aware of when I was eating out of boredom, stress, or emotional comfort rather than true hunger. This realization was eye-opening because in the past I often turned to food for reasons that had nothing to do with physical nourishment. Instead of mindlessly snacking, I learned to pause and ask myself what I really needed in that moment. Maybe I needed a break, some relaxation, or even just a conversation with a friend, something that a bag of chips could never truly provide. There was one particular evening when I had a craving for something sweet after dinner. Normally, I would have automatically reached for dessert without thinking twice, but instead I paused and asked myself if I was truly hungry or if I was simply looking for a reward after a long day. After a moment of reflection, I realized that I wasn't actually hungry. I just wanted comfort. So instead of eating out of habit, I made myself a warm cup of herbal tea. It was a small but significant victory that showed me how powerful mindfulness could be in changing ingrained habits. Incorporating mindful eating into my life was a truly transformative experience. It helped me develop a healthier relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even enhanced my overall sense of well-being. What started as a one-week experiment quickly became a long-term habit that I continue to practice today. If you've never tried mindful eating, I highly encourage you to start. You don't need to overhaul your entire eating routine. Just start with one meal a day. Sit down without distractions, take a few deep breaths, and truly savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and how the food makes you feel. You might be surprised at how this simple practice can change your entire eating experience. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with your body, appreciate the nourishment that food provides, and cultivate a healthier, more mindful approach to eating. Habit number 5 is limiting screen time. This one was particularly challenging for me, and I suspect it might be for many of you as well. We live in a digital world, and it's so easy to get sucked into endless hours of scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or checking emails. At first, I didn't see anything wrong with it. After all, technology is such a big part of our lives. But over time, I started to notice the negative effects that excessive screen time was having on me. My productivity was slipping, my mental clarity was diminishing, and even my sleep was suffering. I knew I had to make a change, so I decided to set some boundaries and see what would happen. The first step I took was setting a daily limit of 1 hour for non-work related screen time. This meant no mindless scrolling through Instagram, no endless YouTube marathons, and no late-night TV binges. It was tough at first. I had become so accustomed to filling every spare moment with screen time that I often found myself instinctively reaching for my phone. But I reminded myself of why I was doing this, and I stayed committed to my goal. One of the first things I noticed was how much more time I had in my day. I had never realized just how much of my time was being eaten up by screens until I made a conscious effort to limit them. Without the distractions of social media and streaming services, I suddenly had hours of free time that I didn't know what to do with at first. But instead of filling that time with more screen-based activities, I decided to reconnect with hobbies and interests I had neglected for years. I picked up a book I had been meaning to read, something I hadn't done in months. I started doodling and drawing again, an activity that used to bring me so much joy. I even tried my hand at cooking new recipes, experimenting with flavors and ingredients in a way that felt both creative and fulfilling. One evening, instead of watching TV after dinner, I decided to take a walk in the park. The fresh air, the sounds of nature, and the simple act of moving my body felt incredibly rejuvenating. It was a stark contrast to the usual screen-induced lethargy I felt after binge-watching a show. That walk quickly became a cherished part of my daily routine, something I looked forward to and enjoyed immensely. Another significant change was in my sleep quality. I used to take my phone to bed, scrolling through social media or watching videos until I felt sleepy. But this habit often left me feeling wired and restless, making it difficult to fall asleep. Even when I did manage to sleep, it wasn't deep or restful. By limiting screen time, especially before bed, I found it much easier to wind down. Instead of looking at my phone, I started a bedtime routine that didn't involve screens. I read a physical book, meditated, or simply reflected on my day. This change led to deeper, more restful sleep, and I woke up feeling more refreshed and energized. I also noticed significant improvements in my mental health. Without the constant barrage of news updates, social media comparisons, and digital distractions, I felt less anxious and more present. I was more focused during conversations, more attentive to the people around me, and more engaged in my daily activities. It was like a fog had lifted, allowing me to see and experience life more clearly. Instead of feeling like I was always playing catch-up in a fast-paced digital world, I felt more in control of my time and energy. One particularly memorable day was when I spent an entire afternoon at a local cafe with just a notebook and a pen. I wrote down my thoughts, planned some goals, and even sketched a bit. It was such a peaceful and productive time, free from digital interruptions. I felt more connected to myself and my surroundings in a way that screens had never allowed. It reminded me of how much I had been missing by constantly being plugged in. Of course, there were moments of temptation and slips along the way. There were times when I instinctively reached for my phone out of habit, only to catch myself and put it away. Each time this happened, I gently reminded myself of the benefits I was experiencing. Instead of mindlessly consuming digital content, I redirected my focus to something more fulfilling: reading, writing, exercising, or simply being present in the moment. Limiting screen time is not about completely eliminating technology from your life. That would be unrealistic in today's world. It's about creating a healthier balance and being more intentional with your time. Technology can be a wonderful tool, but when used excessively or unconsciously, it can take away from real-life experiences, meaningful interactions, and personal growth. If you're feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, I encourage you to try setting some screen time boundaries. Start small, maybe with an hour less each day, and gradually increase it. Use that extra time to reconnect with yourself, your loved ones, and the world around you. You might be surprised at how much richer and more fulfilling life can be when you step away from the screens and engage more with the real world. All right, everyone, That wraps up our journey through the 7 habits that dramatically changed my life in just one week. It's been an incredible experience, not just implementing these habits, but also sharing them with you. Each of these habits has the power to create significant positive changes in your life. And I truly believe that if they could work for me, they can work for anyone. If you've been inspired by any of these habits, I encourage you to try them out for yourself. Start small, maybe with one habit, and see how it feels. Adjust according to what suits your lifestyle and needs. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's about making small, manageable changes that accumulate into substantial transformations over time. I'd love to hear about your experiences, so please drop a comment below, sharing which habit you're thinking of adopting or any questions you might have about starting. Your feedback and stories are what make this community so amazing and supportive. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any of our future content. We have lots more insights and tips coming your way that you won't want to miss. Sharing this video with friends or family who might benefit from these habits could also make a huge difference in their lives. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, small changes lead to big results. Let's keep growing, keep evolving, and turn our everyday routines into powerful moments of self-improvement. See you in the next video. Stay awesome, everyone.